Well, welcome to the line, Dave.
Thank you.
I greatly appreciate you taking the time here to step up to the line and have a real and honest conversation with us here.
Heck yeah, man. I'm all about it.
Yeah.
If I get an opportunity to share my thoughts, my wisdom, my experience, and I think in the trades, a lot of guys my age, so I'm 66 years old, and I feel like I get the opportunity to speak like at events and to a lot of people, and inevitably I get the older gentleman in the back row that says, this new generation isn't worth a darn. Well, you know what? My dad said that about me. I said that about my son. I'll bet you my grandpa said that about my dad. But every generation steps up. But it's my responsibility to share my wisdom, my experience, and pass that on. And also the experiences that I've had and be able to bring them in, and the excitement to be, you think about the trades, man. I mean, what a great way. You get to do things with your hands, you build things, and then you get to see the end result. A lot of people don't get to build and then also see the end result. So I'm all about the trades. So if I can share my wisdom, share my experiences, and get people excited about the trades, I'm all about it. So I'm here.
Well, let's talk about that, because I want to talk about some of your origins, like where you come from and how you ended up where you are. And I love what you're saying, because, at Blackline, our vision is to lift the view of the trades, meaning we want to elevate the men and women who do the work. And, we're here in Minnesota at the Mining and Energy Expo, talking about bringing things out of the ground. We're talking about uncovering things. We're talking about origins.
Yeah.
And so how is it that that you ended up where you are? Like, would you have ever thought when you were 25 or 26 that you would be on camera on a podcast? I mean, we didn't even know what a podcast was back then.
Right,
but
right.
How did you get to this place?
So that's a great question. So I grew up in a family of six kids. My dad started out as a teacher and a coach, right?
Really?
Football coach, baseball coach. He
didn't start out as a tradesman?
No, sir.
Wow.
But when he was going through college, he used to pave. He worked laying roads and stuff. So my dad, tough guy, old school. Well, in the 70s, Dad didn't like the way kids were responding, so he's like, I'm done. And he started a paving company. Now, there's 4 boys and two sisters in the family. And it became a family organization. It was a family experience that we had to survive.
Yeah.
And really we did.
When you start a business, it is a family experience.
It is. And I was 12 years old when we started paving. And, we used to get teased about child labor laws, but that was life, right? And so we started paving, and we worked our way up. But Dad also had a strong thought that education was important. So I went to school, and I played some college football, but I got a degree in engineering. And I'll never forget, I asked, and at the time when I did graduate, my wife got her nursing degree, and she asked me, she goes, what's an engineer do? And I said, well, they sit in an office and design things. And she goes, you'll never be able to sit in an office. But what was so cool is after that, we had an asphalt plant in a rock quarry. And the rock quarry owner went into bankruptcy. We got it out of bankruptcy. We spent, again, the family's money, and we bought this rock quarry. And at the time, I had just graduated with my engineering degree. I was throwing out resumes all over. I was traveling with my family and trying to find a job. And Dad calls me and he goes, hey, we have an opportunity to buy this rock quarry. Would you come back and operate it? And I was like, I love adventure. I love solving problems. And so I was like, yeah, I'm all in.
Yeah.
So we all threw in money and started a rock quarry, and that was Mountain Hood Rock Products. And I managed that for 30 years.
Wow.
Yeah. So we end up buying Mom and Dad out.
So you 30 years, you built a lot of experience in many different ways. Because if you're managing that, you're managing people, you're managing materials, you're managing equipment, all of that stuff.
All of that.
And
all of the above.
And usually it all has issues at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And I was one of those guys that I learned to do the electrical.
Yeah.
Because at the
You
time,
have to.
I had to learn.
Yeah.
We didn't have enough money. I learned
Yeah.
mechanics. I learned how to move dirt. I learned how to screen rock. I learned how to, put pumps together. All those things, because, you start from the bottom, and the amount of money that we invested in that, it was significant for our small family.
Absolutely.
And so I had to learn every aspect of it, which then gave me such respect for the guys that do
Yeah.
that kind of work. So that's the beginning of how I became a miner, and also respect for the trades.
Yeah. Well, I think that's something that, in every venture that I've been involved with, I've had to wear some of the hats. It's just who I am.
Yeah.
Like whether it's learning, which you don't want me operating a camera, but whether it's learning how some of that works, how different shots work, all of that things, whether it's learning, in the first business I started, an electrical company, I wore every hat in that organization.
Yep.
And I'm not good at every hat in that organization, but it gave me a perspective that I would not have had.
Right.
And I think that's something with the trades that we have to understand, the men and women who do this work. If you haven't experienced what it is that they're doing, then you really don't have an authority to speak on it.
Correct. I agree. And that's why I wanted to learn every aspect, because I knew, as a business owner, I knew I couldn't do every one of those jobs.
Yeah.
However, if I understood, the basics, like every piece of machinery on our rock quarry, and even in the paving part of it, I operated, and I became good enough at it that I could train somebody to do it. So if somebody does up and quit, look, I'm the guy that's going to replace. The worst machine I ever ran, I ran them all, was a rock drill. I hated it, buddy.
Why? What did you hate about it?
Oh, my goodness. You couldn't see what was going on. Like you run an excavator, everything's right in front of you. You run a drill down 80 feet, and you're drilling rock. You don't see, you don't know. All you know is what's coming out, like your cuttings and stuff. It was tough.
So I would imagine something like that. We've talked a lot about experience and transitioning that over to the next generation and how important that is. I would imagine a rock drill has a lot to do with, I was recently teaching my middle son how to drive, and he bought his first truck with some summer savings that he had from his summer job.
Nice.
And it was a 1986 Ford diesel F-250.
Yep. Okay.
And I talked with him about driving, and I said, you need to learn the feel of the truck. Mm-hmm. I would assume rock drilling, when you can't see like that, it's a lot about how the drill feels and what you're drilling. I mean, I'm curious.
Exactly. No, it is. The rotation of your steel, you can see the cuttings coming out. You can see if it's dry or wet. You can see if there's no cuttings coming out. And it's similar to running a big dozer.
Yeah.
I'll tell you a quick story. So big dozers all feel. You can't see in front. You don't know how much is in front of your blade. You don't even know if you're pushing air or pushing dirt. And I've seen this. So I'm going to tell you a story. So
I love this. This is exactly what we're about.
I'm on Gold Rush, right? And I've ran D10s, D11s. Well, or D10s at the time. The biggest dozer I ran was a D10.
Which, just to be clear, that's a big dozer.
It's a big dozer.
Yeah.
Though, so on the show, there's a guy with a Komatsu, I think it was a 475, which at the time I believe was the largest dozer in the world. The blade is, I think, 14 feet tall, 24 feet wide, and it's massive.
Holy crap.
So the camera crew, and we have this idea that we're going to go borrow the neighbor's big dozer. Well, Dave, I'm Dozer Dave. So they're like, Dave, go get the big dozer. So I bring it down, and I tell all the camera guys, now look, this is all about feel.
Yeah.
Give me about an hour to get accustomed to this machine so I can actually get a feel for it. So I go get it. I walk it down about it was half a mile upstream. I bring it down, and I tell the camera guys, I was like, look, and there's two sets of camera on me. And I go, shut the cameras off and give me an opportunity.
I already know how this is going.
You know how this is going to go. So I start pushing, and I look up, and on both sides, they're just like filming, and they're just going for it. And I'm like, you knuckleheads. I said, give me a chance. So anyway, I know they're not going to put their thing down. So I start pushing, right? And it gets to be, I'm starting to get the feel of it and everything.
Yeah.
However, they're filming everything. And so when we film, it isn't until about 6 months later it's on TV.
Right.
So now I'm sitting there with my wife on the couch watching the show.
Oh, so you haven't seen any of the
I
edit?
haven't seen any of the edit.
Oh, my God. And this is going out to the public.
Oh, yeah. And in our
Operators are a very forgiving crew. It's not like you got messages about this.
So, you know, and in the heyday of our show, there was 8 million people on a Friday night would watch our show.
I was one of those 8 million.
I'm sitting there and I'm watching TV and I'm like, oh, great, here comes the scene with the big 475 and Dozer Dave's running it for the first time. And I'm like, good Lord, please let there be some dirt in front of that machine. and as I'm seeing it, I'm like, oh, cool, there's something in front of the machine, you know, and I had about a 3/4 full blade. So, I mean, I think I did pretty good.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But we learn, you know, and I'm not afraid. Yeah. I'm not afraid to take a challenge. I love a challenge.
Yeah. Well, and one thing you can be sure of is camera guys are not going to do what you ask them to do.
That's
true.
They
want to capture everything, even the bad stuff. Yeah. So, Dave, a question that I always ask people is, what's a tool or a piece of gear that you just can't live without? And our listeners, I think, would be very curious to hear you answer that question.
You know, that's a good question, and it changes over the years. I would say, like when I was, like when I was in the business of quarrying rock, that rock was for paving and doing roads and building roads. So we made gravel. And so my tool at that time probably was just a set of sieves, because we lived and died by a set of sieves. Everything that we did had a specification.
So for our listeners, what is a sieve?
So a sieve analysis is the different sizes of rocks. So at the top you might have like a 3/4 sieve, goes down to 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch, and then at the bottom it's called a number 2 sieve, or number 200 sieve, and that's how much dust.
Gotcha.
And so we would have to live by what is on each size of those sieves. So that was a tool I couldn't live with, because everything we did had to be within a specification.
Right.
So once I got out of that, I became a gold miner. Now my tool, and it's one of the most basic tools of all mining, at least for gold, it's a pan. I bring a pan.
You mean like the thing that we see in the old prospector pictures?
Exactly.
Wow.
So when I started placer mining, we're looking for gold in its natural resource or natural source, and the river brought it there. So I can shovel into my pan, and I always get a consistent size pan, because it's all about being consistent. Pan it down and see how much gold is in there. Now, if there's one itty bitty flake, I'm like, no good. If I see 40 colors and they're chunky, I'm like, hey, we're on to something. So I guess now my tool that I go with all the time is a pan, because I'm after gold now. My transition from, crushing rock and stuff, you think about it, after a long day's work, you look back and you go, wow, that's a great pile of rocks, isn't it? Well, not too sexy. You talk about sexy. However, when I got into gold mining, and this is the attraction, like at the end of the day, you walk up to your sluice box, sun's going down, and the sun is glistening off of that gold. Buddy, there's nothing.
There's a reason they call it the golden hour.
There you go. It's nothing like it. And the same thing with a pan.
Yeah.
You could sit there and pan all day long, and then you hit this one pan, and you're like, boom, got it.
That's a great segue into why we're here. We're here at this Mining and Energy Expo in Minnesota, and we're talking about, you've heard the phrase, it's either, everything that we live with is either grown or dug out of the ground.
It's true.
And I mean, that is so true. And going around the country and doing these podcasts, I've talked with a lot of road builders. I've talked with a lot of different people in construction. I've talked with a lot of miners. And that I didn't realize, like my phone, the table, everything that we're sitting on, wearing this floor that is in this building right now, all has come out of the ground.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And so you made that segue from just pulling stuff out of the ground into gold mining. Why is gold mining something, or even mining in general, why is it so important to not only the United States of America, but to our world, to the name of this organization is Better in Our Backyard? Why is it so important to You're in My Backyard?
I believe that America needs to take advantage of our natural resources. I believe God gave us one of the most incredible pieces of land. All the natural resources, everything that we need is here. Yeah. It's under our feet. But we've become stagnated by all of the rules and regulations and the permitting. And I think and that's the reason I'm here. I've been through the process of trying to get another rock quarry, and it's brutal.
Yeah.
It is brutal because you go to these public meetings and everybody that takes the microphone, and we're talking to whether it's county commissioners or a commission in front of the Forest Service, and these public meetings, everybody's opinion matters. So you can be paying a consultant $1,000 an hour, or you could have the little lady that's suffering from emphysema that she claims is from the diesel from the trucks that we're going to have. Everybody has the same, whatever you want to call it, the same importance. Everybody has the same importance and the same voice. And it was brutal. And so I think we need to start to loosen that up, because just like these guys were saying, our total lithium production, it's about 94% comes from China. And we all want to go, electrical, right? Electrical vehicles and all that kind of stuff. Well, we need lithium.
Yeah.
But if we can't dig it out of our ground, where's it going to come from? It's going to come from China. And not only that, but and if you think about it, in America, we have the best, by far, environmental laws. We have the best environmental engineers. We have the best environmentally friendly government. And if we do it right.
Come on.
But everybody thinks that, let's send it to China's backyard. Well, guess what? The trade winds blow this way.
Yeah.
Where do the ocean currents go?
Yeah.
They come right back around. As we get, as the world grows, the world's becoming smaller.
Absolutely.
And so we need to do it because I believe we can do it the best. I'm not saying we're the smartest in the world, but by golly, we do environmental control and quality the best in the world. And we are the leaders, and so we should do it here and put our people to work.
I agree, and I think one of the things, you hear the term responsible mining.
Yeah.
And it's like, I've learned a lot even this weekend about children being sent to pull lithium out of the ground. Not just the environment, but child labor.
Yeah.
And the reality is that flies in the face of my values.
Mm-hmm.
It flies in the face of what I believe. And as an American, as a patriot, as someone who, my faith plays a huge part into why I do what I do. And I believe that people have value. No matter what country, no matter what creed, you have value. And when we devalue people, whether it's children, whether it's our citizens or whoever it might be, and when we allow that with the resources that we've been provided with as Americans, when we aren't leading the charge, when we aren't showing, hey, this is responsible mining, when we're not doing that, then whether we'll ever be culpable in a courtroom, we're culpable somewhere.
Yeah.
That we were given the authority and the ability to be like, hey, this is how it can be done. And when you lead, I'm curious your thoughts on this, but I believe when you lead, that's for people to follow you.
Yeah.
And so why can't America lead the mining industry in responsible mining?
Yeah. But, what you're talking about is exactly what I'm about, too. Because, I think what can I do, right? What can you do? What can we do? And here's what my dad taught me. So how do we improve the permitting process? I believe has to do with us. We have to look inside and go, how can I help? Well, one of the things my dad he was a big part of our community. And going back to, I said that we tried to get a permit, right?
Yeah.
We ended up getting the permit, and it was based on my dad and my family's good name in the community. We built ballparks.
Yeah.
We built part of the school. I would invite grade school classes to my rock quarry. I would show them how we're mining. I would show them the big equipment. And if you do that, if all of us do that, if all of us self-police and do the right things, I believe, and we become pillars in the community, it takes time and it takes effort. However, if we do that, our image will change.
Yeah.
Our image in America, because right now, we're fighting an uphill battle with the image. Because every day you see a mining catastrophe. It's not happening in America, mostly, but still, that's the image that people see. So how do we change that? How all of us here, how can we change that image? And I believe it's looking within.
I agree.
And it's being part of the community. It's helping the community and opening up our business.
Yeah.
Because you open your business and you're bringing people in to see, aren't you going to take care of the housekeeping?
Yeah.
You have to.
Absolutely.
So let's do it.
Well, I mean, you touch on something that is a reason that Blackline exists, and that's to tell story. To tell the stories of the men and women who do the work. And it's like, in the industry, and not just mining, the trades in general, we have this mindset of, well, I don't want to be out there on media. I don't want to be out there, and it's really interesting sitting here talking with you. You're probably the only guest that I've ever had that has worked with actual networks, that has worked with actual, media promotion in that way, with people who don't, the media world doesn't understand why it is in our industries we want to be protective, and we want to and the reality is, I know it's scary, I know it's fearful, but if you're not telling that story, what you and I were talking about earlier, the knowledge is lost. The knowledge of the experience of the people who were there, and the other thing that's lost is the value of the story. Like, what is it to do the work with your hands? Like, it is a fulfilling job. It is a fulfilling thing to do. And you have the ability to make a difference in your community, in the people around you, and the world that you live in. And when we do that, then we are the tip of the spear leading the rest of the world, which, listen, that's what we are called to do. I don't care who you are or where you are, you're affecting someone somewhere. And when you decide to do what you believe is right and to go after that, you're affecting and influencing that person next to you in a positive way.
Oh, yeah.
And that's an intentional choice that we need to decide to be about telling intentional stories and honest stories.
Yeah. And again, I think that's where I'm going. So just give you just a heads up, they canceled my last show. I thought it was a good show, but we butted heads on a lot of telling the stories.
Yeah.
I wanted to tell the human interest stories. I met some people that were amazing and my story was about how mining has helped them. I met a guy that had PTSD, and he went mining, and it was very solitary. It was him. He healed from mining. I met a lady that escaped an abusive marriage, and part of what helped her, she escapes, and she's got a pickup, and she's got 3 kids and a camper. She ends up next to this stream, and there's 2 old dudes out there panning.
Good shit.
And he brings, and the young man at the time was 13, and he goes out there and he starts to learn how to pan. Well, it does 2 things. It brings the family together, and they're working together. So the kids are out there mining while mom's got a job. Well, guess what? They get gold, and it's a project, and it's teaching the kids how to work and help the family.
Yeah.
So fast forward to 10 years later, I'm doing an episode with them. The young man is an awesome dude, right? And he's really come out. He's got his own business, trucking, and he loves gold. He's buying claims, and he's finding stuff.
Wow.
But here's the part that bothered me. You talk about the stories.
Yeah.
This little lady, sweet lady, she looks right down the barrel of the camera, and she says, I escaped an abusive marriage. And she goes, if there's any women out there that are watching this, I did it, you can do it.
Come on.
You think they put that on TV? They didn't show it. So now moving on, I want to tell those stories.
Yeah.
Because mining is such a big part of our history in America.
Yeah.
Gold and mining is a part of our history, and I want to tell those stories because in July 4th, 2025 will be our 250th anniversary. Let's tell the story of how mining has helped America become as great as it is.
Yeah. And I think that mining, I love that you share that, because those are the stories that I want to tell. The truth, like I always say, we want to have an honest conversation. And I think people don't realize what that means. An honest conversation isn't about being transparent and telling everything. It's about not hiding anything, not covering something up, not hiding that real true story that she's telling.
Yeah.
And you talk about that, and it's like talking about someone who's overcome PTSD through the work.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that is what it's about. And that's the thing that I don't think people realize is when you work in these industries and you do this stuff, there is more to it than just digging stuff out of the ground.
Yeah.
There's more to it than that, and we need to tell those stories. And we don't need, maybe I'm speaking out of turn here because I don't have the experience that you do, but we don't need networks anymore to tell those stories.
No, we don't.
And that's a little scary to people, and it should be, because the truth is worth speaking on.
Mm-hmm.
Those stories are worth telling. And so as we tell those stories, that makes an impact on people, and it attracts them to the industry, it attracts them to the truth, and it also helps us make a difference in not only our backyard, but our world.
Yeah.
Because that is the backyard that we live in.
Exactly.
So I really appreciate your honesty. Like, I can always tell when I sit down with someone, are they just being real with me, or are they calculated? And you just walked up and sat down and started speaking truth, and I really appreciate that, Dave.
The truth shall set you free. Sorry.
100%.
Yeah, right.
100%.
And that was one of the things I learned in this business, like
Yeah.
doing these TV shows and stuff. A lot of times we'd have to make stuff up, and a lot of things that we would do actually happened, but it wasn't on camera, so we would have to do that. However, they would kind of start to bend the truth, and I was like, that's a slippery slope. You start to bend the truth. Now, I didn't mind reenacting something that actually happened.
Yeah.
I make a mistake. All right, the track comes off of a dozer. It's a lot of work, and they didn't catch it. So, all right, let's try to reproduce this. But when you start dealing with the real story, or you're changing gold counts and stuff like that, I'm like, no, not on my watch.
Well, so I'm feeling a little bad here because I didn't tell you this when we started, but our podcast, we don't edit anything. So everything that you've said is going out there.
It's all right.
So I often tell people, I said, if you want to edit it, do it up here.
Okay.
Once it comes out here, it's out.
No.
But it's like,
it's all good.
The reality is, those are the stories that need to be told.
They are.
Those are the stories, and that's the way they need to be told.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. I didn't understand when I first started doing this, when you're telling the story of a camera, sometimes things don't get caught on camera.
Correct.
And you do need to, we'll call it reenact them.
Yeah.
And you do need to do that. And I don't think there's anything dishonest about that. But then you have a responsibility to not bend it or twist it. Because the other thing that I learned about this industry in storytelling and the camera is your ability to make the story whatever you want it to be. And it's very easy to do. And that's something that I refuse to do. I don't want to be a part of, because it literally can take, and we live in a world with AI right now. It's like there's a lot of deception out there, and it's like we want to be honest. We want to be real about it. And when we do that, I think those are the stories that are effective. And really, I'm convicted about, well, am I affecting people for a positive outcome, or am I manipulating or affecting people for what I want?
Yeah. Good point.
I don't have to manipulate you to say the trades are a good thing. I don't have to manipulate you to say mining is where it's at.
You're right.
Because it's the truth.
Yeah.
And the truth is, an old timer once told me, in business, you can imagine some of the things that I dealt with. And I can remember being in a courtroom. And an old timer told me, if you've been in business long enough, you've been there. And I can remember an old timer telling me, well, the truth is easy to remember.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because if you're not telling the truth, you start trying to make stuff up, and then it gets, it's
Exactly.
wrong. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yep.
So, Dave, I want to ask you this question. It's something that we always ask, and it gets a little bit more personal, but what is a mistake that you have made in your life that you would be willing to share with our audience and our listeners that they might be able to learn from you?
Sure. When I was a young man, I was arrogant. And I'm going to be honest with you. Life has humbled me, and I wish at a young age I was more humble. And what it did is it created a huge block with my father. My dad was a tough guy, and I found out that he liked to argue. Well, I would stand there toe-to-toe and argue, and it was a real wedge between my dad and I. As I got older, maybe into my 40s and so, I realized that I cannot change my dad. And if I wanted a relationship, I also had a change of my own heart. But I realized that if I wanted a relationship with my father, it was me.
Yeah.
I had to change. My perspective of my dad. I had to see the good in my dad. And, once I did that and I quit arguing with him, we ended up having a great relationship.
That's awesome.
Out of all the kids, I had the ability to speak truth into my dad.
Wow.
And I lost Dad about 5 years ago. And it was horrible. It was one of the worst days of my life. The guy had a lot of influence. But if I wouldn't have changed my attitude, I think there would have still been a wedge.
Yeah.
And because I accepted him as who he is, I was able to communicate with him, and we had great conversations. And so that's it. Don't be so cocky that you think you know everything. And it's partly when you're a younger man, but
yeah,
life humbles you. Another thing real quick was I used to think at my little piece of the world at Mount Hood Rock Products, I used to think I was a good miner.
Yeah.
And then I started on this TV show called Gold Rush,
Yeah.
and I was like, I know nothing.
Yeah.
I don't know, and it was such an amazing learning curve as I learned. And that's I believe that was part of the success of Gold Rush, is I wasn't afraid to say, I don't know.
Yeah.
And as I learned, the audience learned along with me.
Yeah.
And it was being able to humble yourself and say, I don't know everything, and let's learn, and the whole audience learn together where gold is and what it's worth and all these kind of things. So there you go.
You lived that out publicly.
I did.
On that show. And so I'm just curious, and you talk about, your mistake was that you wish you would have been humble earlier. And I think that's one thing as young men and young women, I think all of us, but I mean, I have been a young man, so I know that experience. And when you talk about that, it's like, I wished I would have learned humility faster in my life. I wish that I would have learned those things faster, because while the story of your relationship with your dad, that's encouraging and it's exciting and it's moving, but I have some stories like that I didn't learn it fast enough. And the reality is some people were not desiring to have that relationship with me.
Right.
And
right.
I can't make them do that. And that's unfortunate. And it's because I didn't learn that quick enough.
Right.
And so, I mean, that's a huge thing that I would just say, and it really doesn't matter what age you are, you can always be more humble today than you were yesterday.
Right.
That's the reality.
And humility isn't weakness.
Not at all.
Some people think,
not at all.
Being humble is a sign of weakness. No, it's not.
Yeah.
In many respects, it's strength. There's
Truly
strength.
it is.
There's strength in humility, in asking other people questions, in asking them how they're doing,
Yeah.
and share and hear from them. If you do that, a lot of times, even being silent at times is strength. People think that they got to be the smartest person in the room. Well, you don't.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's.
Well, to that point, and I said how you were learning that publicly, I think that you probably have a unique experience to what it is to be embarrassed.
My goodness.
And so, and let me just be
Yes,
real
I
about
do.
this, because, I can't speak to other people, but I know for myself, entering more into a small aspect, like up until my mid-40s, I had zero, I didn't have any social media of any kind. And I've experienced some things, and it's amazing to me how embarrassing they are to me and how small they are in the grand scheme
Yeah.
of things. But how would you encourage people to deal with that embarrassment when that happens on such a public and massive scale?
I think you got to be willing to laugh.
Yeah.
So many things that I've done mistakes, and I got to laugh it off. And when you laugh, it does diminish the embarrassment, because I've made enough mistakes. I mean, look at my head. I got so many scars. I run into things, it's just and so you got to laugh at it. You're and have some fun with it. That's one thing I have learned with men. A lot of times in stressful situations, if we laugh about it, we can kind of come back around and have a fun time.
Do you think that there's a root of fear sometimes in embarrassment, where we're fearful of what opportunity might be lost, we're fearful of what people might think? I tend to feel like with that, we have to push fear out. I don't know that I think that fear is ever good. Like I think that it's good to have concern. Like you should know that if you're in a high lift or something and you're working, you should be concerned about what you're doing and be intelligent.
Correct.
But I've worked in those situations, and when people were afraid, and that would be the word that I would use, when they were afraid, they ended up doing things that made it worse.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious, do you think that with embarrassment, sometimes fear can be used in a way that almost limits us in a way that makes it amplifies it for the negative?
Correct. I agree with you 100% because fear can cripple you.
Yeah.
Fear can make you make bad decisions.
Yes.
Fear is good because it gives you respect for, the circumstances.
Yeah.
However, fear can cripple. I was talking to a police officer, a good friend of mine, and he'd been in, gunfights and all that. And he said during that he was trained so well that the fear didn't get him, right?
Yeah.
But he said afterwards, the fear would just take him out of life because in those really tense moments, and I've experienced that after the fact, like with some accidents and some things, it just cripples you.
Yeah.
Like I lost a really good friend on the show, Jesse Goins on the show, passed away from a massive heart attack. And after that, the fear of all of that situation, the fear of what's going to be shown on the TV, it crippled me. I was a mess. I couldn't function.
How did you overcome that?
Great question. We all sat around as men would do. No, we're isolated. It was during COVID, and so we can't really go out.
Yeah.
We had each other. It was a group of 6, and this is, I don't know how much time. You got time?
Yeah, I got time.
This is an interesting story. So Jesse passes away. I find him, but I'm with my grandson. My grandson at the time is 12 years old. I find Jesse, he's down, and I start immediately with...
So you found him after he had that?
Yeah. So I'm trying to revive him. I'm doing CPR, doing everything. I'm yelling at people, call 911, get the medic, get the defibrillator. And I'm working on Jesse for at least half an hour. Finally, about 45 minutes, the paramedics show up. It took that long. We were pretty remote. They take over. And in my mind, I go, oh my goodness, my grandson is with me.
Come on.
And I turn around, and there he is. He's 12 years old. And he's like a mummy. Again, the fear.
Yeah.
He doesn't even move. I look back at him, and I said, Micaiah, go get Nana. That's my wife. And she's a nurse. And at that point, he breaks down, and he's crying, and he takes off running as fast as that kid would go. And I thought to myself, I ruined my grandson. But this goes back to your question, how do you heal from that? How do you heal from that? So there was a time when my guys, obviously we took some days off, but we started going into a bad, deep hole of we were mourning and we weren't working. And there was a time we were sitting around a campfire in the morning, and I said, you know what, guys? We're built to work.
Come on.
Men, I believe, have to have a purpose in life. I said, if we sit around this campfire and feel sorry for ourselves, and some of them, and me too, we're drinking.
Yeah.
So I said, we need to pull ourselves out of this. So we went back to work. I told them, I said, look, you guys take as much time as you can. I'm going to go back to work.
Come on.
And one after the other, we all went back to work. And that's how we healed. And my grandson also healed because he saw grown men cry. He saw grown men taking care of business. He saw grown men hugging and taking care of each other.
Come on.
And that guy became our minor, and he was part of our group. And to this day, the kid is strong. He's a great young man. He's 16 now, and he's doing awesome things. And I believe that real-world situation where he saw real men crying and real men taking care of each other, it made him a better person. His experience, now he's got that under his belt, and he's survived, and he's doing great.
Well, and I think the thing that you say about it that is so key is I believe that work does have the power to heal, but not in the way when we use it to cover up. what you talked about there is you guys were honest. Mm-hmm. You had honest conversation, and then you got up and you moved.
Have to move.
You got up and you moved, and it's like that's the thing that I think that we don't realize in life is that when those things happen, it's like, all right, we process it, we deal with it, and then we need to get back to work.
Yeah.
And that is a fundamental that I believe is essential in what we do.
Yeah, yeah. And life is a path, and you're not, I believe we're not designed to sit on that path. A path is made for moving.
I agree.
And I believe that, and I have a strong faith, but also I believe that when you're down that path, sometimes God's going to go, hey, this way, or hey, this way. But if you're standing still, he doesn't know which way you're going.
Yeah.
So I believe those paths are directed, and then if you go the wrong way, it's like, hey, Dave, this way.
You know, I once heard a guy say, and this is really interesting related to what you were talking about earlier about mistakes and the things that we do. And when you have momentum and you're moving forward, even if you're going in the wrong direction, it is actually easier economically, physically, and everything to change direction with momentum than it is from a place of standing still.
I agree.
100%.
Now, I've made enough mistakes that I just go straight forward and I'm like, oh, shoot, there's another path, you know? And then, so.
Well, and with that big Komatsu dozer, you know, like when you're moving dirt, like think about that in the sense of it's easier to move and change direction while you're in motion than from a point of standing still.
That's correct.
And any operator that's listening knows that's true.
Yeah.
So it's just funny how things tie together.
Yeah.
Dave, I really appreciate you taking this time to sit down and have a real and honest conversation with us.
Oh, you're welcome. And I really appreciate it. Just real quick, I would like to share a little shout out. So I'm here with a company called Abusive, and it's water technology, and it's taking care of water. I believe, again, in what I've done, I consider myself a professional miner. Yeah. I've been in the business a lot of years. And I believe in reclamation, and I believe in doing it the right way.
Come on.
Well, this Abusive Water Technologies, I don't get behind a lot of companies, but I'm behind this company because I believe water is so crucial and critical to mining and our world. As the world becomes smaller and smaller, water is a very economic. We need it. It's vital to
it's life.
Doing everything. Yeah. So these people have figured it out, and I'm trying to help them get the word out there to mining, and that's why we're here.
Where can they find Abusive?
Abusive, AVIVID Water Technology. They're based in Longmont, Colorado.
Okay.
So anyway, check it out.
Where do people find you if they want to follow you and see what you're doing?
I'm on Facebook, Dozer Dave. Okay. I've got a website, dozerdave.com. And so,
Good deal.
Yeah, this has been fun.
Hey, man.
Thanks you
for stepping up to the line.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.